Hello, all of you. I hope you all are doing good. Welcome to CA Intermediate. As we know that here, today is our first lecture, very important lecture because I'm to discuss with you about the syllabus of advanced accounting, examination paper pattern, then the study material that we are going to provide you, what will be our approach in class, and how we are going to cover your doubts that here. So, and then I'm going to start a first chapter introductory part that here. Before I come to that, just a brief introduction of mine. My name is Zubair Khan and I became CA in 2011. Since then, I am this teaching profession that year. Apart from CA, I've also done a diploma in International Financial Reporting Standard from ACCA that year and the BCom as well. Now, I take classes for CA Intermediate Advanced Accounting and CA Final FR that. Apart from that, I also take a corporate training session for multinational company. Generally, I travel in Dubai and take a session for them. So for the corporate, basically how to implement the international financial reporting, these accountings part only. So let's start here our journey. But before I come to the syllabus and all that, what is important for you that here to understand that here. First of all, keep one thing in your mind that here. CA Intermediate is not at all, at least I can talk about advanced accounting. I believe that this is the easiest paper you have at inter level that here. And trust me, you can score 80 plus in advanced accounting. In fact, your target should score 80 plus in advanced accounting that year. Make a target that year. The passing percentage, passing mark for the each paper is 40 and aggregated should be 50. But let me tell you honestly, you have to think in your mind, for the advanced accounting, the passing marks is not 40. It should be how much? 80. So for you, the passing marks in advanced accounting is 80 that year. And let me promise you that year, I will make it so simple for you. In fact, no need to make it simple. The subject itself is an easy subject that year. Very simple subject that year. But what is more important is the understanding of conceptual clarity, which is the most important that year. So I will tell you that here. What will be our approach that year, how we are going to make each and every topic very simple that year, and easily you are going to score 80 plus in advanced accounting that year. You just have to follow my instruction that year, okay? So as today is the first day, so whatever I am writing that here in class, you have to write with me, okay? But problems you're going to solve with me that year, obviously. But when it's come to the concept that year, when I'm discussing concept with you, this is a concept book. I will explain you about this book to all of you that year. But when I will explain you the concept that at that time, you just have to listen me. You just have to listen me. I will tell you in detail about these book that here. Everything it has, the revision tracker, how to track your revision and all that I will discuss with you that day, okay? Each and every point I will discuss with you here. But it is important that here. The concept, no need to write because you will get the concept book or you have already got the concept book. So what is going to happen that now when I will discuss with you concept that you just have to listen me. Listen me carefully, okay? And when I will write it something like the problems or anything I'm writing, just you have to write it with me, okay? So I hope you have a notebook today, and in that notebook, just first write it down that here now is the study. Is the first is now is the CA Inter Advanced Accounting. First is the syllabus that here. So when I talk about the syllabus that here, okay? Now syllabus, very simple subject. You are going to score 80 plus in advanced accounting. Trust me. Okay. Now, syllabus, when we talk about a syllabus that here, at CA intermediate level that here, your syllabus is divided into two categories. Okay. First is accounting standard. First is what? Accounting standard. Okay. And let me tell you the other chapters like that, okay, in two categories. You have to write it down, okay? Now, in your syllabus that year, you have these accounting standards and what you have that is the other chapters that, okay? Now, total, there are 29 accounting standards, but out of that, 2 are abolished. So, effectively, you have, how many accounting standards you have? You have total 27 accounting standards. So, accounting standard, there are 29, 2 are abolished. So effectively you have 27 accounting standard. Okay. So what happened that year? Your 27 accounting standard. But out of these 27 accounting standard, 4 accounting standard basically is a very important accounting standard. It's a full-fledged chapter in which a lengthy question comes in examination that here. Okay, so out of these here, I'm going to cover the 4 accounting standard as a separate chapter that here. So effectively in your accounting standard module that here, you have 23 accounting standards. How many years you have? 23 accounting standards you have that. Okay, you will say no, 27 total. Yes, 27. But out of that, 4 I'll treat it as a separate chapter that will come under the category of other chapter. So when I say that here now, all these 27 accounting standard that here, it is going to cover, how much weightage in your examination? Around 65%. 65% of your total paper that is. Okay, including these 4 accounting standard that I consider as a other chapter. Okay, so 65% of your in paper is going to come from accounting standard only. So you can understand the importance of accounting standard, how important it is that. Okay, so what is going to happen now here? Here, the chapters, when I talk about other chapters that here now, here the 4 accounting standard I will cover here. 4. Okay, just 1 minute. 4 accounting standards. Okay, now 4 accounting standard will be a part of other chapters. Okay, so those 4 accounting standards is, first is accounting standard 3, that is cash flow statement. Accounting standard 13, accounting standard 14, accounting standard 21. Okay, you know that out of these 4 accounting standards, okay, AS 14 and AS 21 is favorite of ICAI that year. They're going to ask you 14 mark question on AS 14 and 14 mark question on AS 21 in every attempt that year. So 28 marks is going to come from only these 2 accounting standards. Okay, just you have to listen me. No, intermediate is, trust me that it's all about the discipline that here. Okay, the consistency and discipline. Just follow this and follow my instruction. Definitely you're going to score 80+ in advanced accounting. Okay, now apart from these 4 accounting standard, which we consider as a part of other chapters. Okay, why I consider it as a part of other chapter? The reason is that here it carry a very heavy mark in examination that. Okay, so the 14 marks question comes from AS 14 mark question from 21, and generally they ask a question AS the 3 as well that year. Okay, so 13 also they ask. It's a full-fledged chapter that year. Here the questions are lengthy, and in these 27 accounting standard, the question are not that lengthy, small question that year. Okay, here the question will, individual question generally come for the 7 marks that year. Okay, here individual question might come for 14 marks. Okay, don't worry, I will tell you the examination pattern, how many questions will come in examination and all that. Okay, apart from that here now, there are the 3 chapters that financial statement of company. Financial statement of company. Okay, then we have here buyback of securities and internal reconstruction. So let me tell you that here, the internal reconstruction, the weightage they have in examination from these 3 chapters. Okay, these 3 chapters, the weightage that they have is coming between 30 to 35%. Paper is going to come from these 3 chapters that here. Okay, and one more chapter that they have is the branch account. Branch account. Branch account. Okay, branch account is that. Okay, when it's come to the branch account, what is going to happen that here now, in branch account that here, the paper is going to come for 5 to 10%. Okay, so here this is the actually your syllabus is that here. So we have divided into 2 categories. The first one is accounting standard that here now, and then here the other chapter. But 4 accounting standard we consider as a part of other chapters that here. And you have these 3 chapters: financial statement of company, buyback, and internal reconstruction. It carry 30 to 35% of your whole paper, and this branch account carry 5 to 10%. Okay, now this is about the syllabus that here. Okay, but when it's come to the paper pattern here in examination, okay, paper pattern when it's come that here in examination. So what is going to happen in examination? Write it down that here, paper pattern. Okay, paper pattern. Write it down there, paper pattern that here. Okay, now in paper pattern that you have here in examination that you have here, okay, is question number 1. Okay, or you can say that here. Let me say MCQs and other than MCQs. Let me write here MCQs and other than MCQs that here. Okay, so MCQs that here and other than MCQs. So as we know that 30 marks compulsory question is going to come on MCQs that here. So how much paper is going to come here for MCQs? That is 30 marks here. 30 marks that here. Okay. Now what I have observed that here in recent examination that is generally they are asking MCQs here on the case scenario based. Now previous in the starting when this new pattern started, initially they asked they were asking 24 marks on the case scenario based MCQs and 6 marks MCQs, simple MCQs that day. But what I observed that now they are asking complete 30 marks on case scenario based only. Okay, but let me divide into two category. Is here the case based MCQs. What is case based MCQs that here now? They will give you the scenario situation, and on that situation they will ask you 4 or 5 questions on that MCQ based. Okay, and then simple question, let me say simple here. But I observe that here now nowadays they are not asking you question on simple MCQs that here. Okay, they will ask you case based MCQ. So recently what I have observed that here generally they're asking you the case based MCQ. It might be happen rare possibility that they will ask you that is the simple MCQs in your paper. But what happened, they are asking you 3 case studies: case study 1, case study 2 and case study 3. How many case studies? 3 case studies they're asking in examination. Okay, now it can be any combination that here. It can be any combination that here, but I'm just giving the recent trend that they have here. That what they're doing that here now is a 2 marks each. Okay, multiply by that 4 questions, so it will carry 8 marks. It can be any combination, not necessarily it may be 2 marks in the 5 questions, so it will come 10. It will come 10 altogether, but it will be 30. Then here suppose 2 marks, okay, multiply by 6 questions, it will come 12 marks. Or you can say that here 2 marks each multiply by 5 questions, it will come how much? 10 marks. So it can be any combination, not necessarily like that. But if you see that here 8 plus 12 plus 10, it is 30. So altogether it will be how much? Altogether it will be the 30 only that here. Okay, so it can be any combination. They might ask you the 4 MCQ in a case study, or 6 or 5, or might be 5 5 5 in each case study, or it might be happen 4 4 4 in each case study. So it will come 4 the MCQ in each case study. The 1 MCQ is for the 2 marks. So here 8 marks, 8 marks, 8 marks, 24. So they may ask you 6 marks simple MCQ. It can be any combination. Okay, but when it's come to the MCQ that here now, you don't have to worry. I mean, it's a separate book on MCQ that you can see that it's a separate book on the MCQ, including case scenario based MCQs that here. So here all the chapters cover topic wise proper. The here, for example, when I will cover suppose the buyback of securities that here. So all the MCQ scenario based MCQ to that topic. So cash flow. So here what I have done that here, the topic wise that here I have made case study topic wise that here. Okay, I made. Okay, so we are going to solve the case study, the 41 case studies that here. Okay, so very interesting that here. On individual chapter wise also we have the MCQs that here. Okay, now so this is your MCQ book that here. So after every chapter I'm going to solve the MCQ from these book that here. Okay, at the end of each chapter here. Then here we have here is when we talk of the examination, that paper pattern, then the other than MCQs that here. So here total 6 questions will come. Here how many questions will come? 6 questions. It's a separate that here. Let me say A and let me say B. It's a A part and it's a B part. Okay, so here the first A part is related to MCQ and B part is related to other than MCQs that. Okay, what happened? A is for the 30 marks and the B is going to be for the 70 marks that here. Okay, so it is going to come for the 70 marks. You will see that 70 marks. Okay, 70 marks. So what is going to happen? They will ask you 6 questions. Okay, multiply by 14 marks each. So that will come 84 marks. Now you will ask me, sir, how it can be possible, sir? Here in saying the 70 marks on the part B of your paper that here, but it is coming 84. One question is option. One question will come in option that. That's why I'm saying that. Okay, one question in option. Don't worry that here. Okay. So what is going to happen that here now? Here in these 6 questions that here, question number 1 is compulsory. Question number 1 is compulsory here. So here question number, let's say that here question number 1 is compulsory that here. Okay, question number 1 is compulsory here. Now you have no other option that here. Okay, but you have to solve, and it will come for how many marks? 14 marks. And remember that here now, not necessarily just one question for 14 marks. It might be happen that here they will ask you that here 2 questions, 7 marks each that here. So it might be happen that is 7 marks each, 14, and generally they ask you question number 1 on accounting side. 7 marks that it might be happen that. Okay, and then you have the other is that here, first is the compulsory question that here now, and then they say that here now in other question that you have option. What option you have here in other question that here now? So you are going to choose, just give me 1 minute. Okay, in question number 2, question number 3, question number 4, question number 5, and in question number 6 that here. Out of these 5 questions that here now, what you have to do that here now? You have to solve 4 questions that here. Out of these 5 questions, you have to, from question number 2 to question number 6 that here. Out of these 5, you have to solve how many questions? Any 4 questions that here now. Any 4 questions that here. Okay, and that 4 question is going to come for here 44 questions multiply by is 14 marks will come each, so it will come 56 marks that here. So this 56 marks plus here the 14 marks that here. Okay, so here the 56 marks plus 14, that will come 70 marks that here now. Okay, now understand this point that here. Okay, so you have no option that here but to, I'm going to say, we cannot be people, you are doing a professional course CA. Okay, you cannot be selective that here. I will take this topic I will leave. No, you cannot do that. You have to complete your entire syllabus. You have to cover. You cannot be I'm selective here in professional examination that here. So what is going to happen that now here? What we'll do that here now? Obviously, you are going to cover the entire syllabus, and your approach should be that here. Entire syllabus you are going to cover, because suppose you miss something and that question comes in question number 1. So you have to lose your 14 marks that year. If you want to score 80 plus in account that year, you have to cover your entire syllabus here. Okay, and in examination hall that year, you are going to decide on the basis, you are going to decide there here out of these 5 questions which 4 you want to solve that. And it is not necessarily one question. I'm to say on the single questions for 14 marks, it can be any combination. It might be happen that when I talk about this 14 marks that here, when I talk about this 14 marks that here, it can be any combination that here. I'm to say that here, it can be a 10 plus 4, okay, like that, 14. It can be like 7 plus 7, like here is that will come 14. It can be any combination that it can be any combination. Okay, like the 5 and 8, it can, they may ask you the 8 marks and 5, no, 8 and 6 marks that here. Okay, 8 and the 6 marks that here. Okay, it can be any combination it can be. Okay, it can be any combination in examination. They may ask you that here, it might be one question only for 14 marks, and that is going to happen that here, because they ask on some question on amalgamation or consolidation, they ask single question for 14 marks. These 14 marks, it can be of any combination that. This is about your syllabus that here. Okay, so now the question arises that, okay, sir, syllabus and the paper pattern we discussed about that here. Now what is going to happen that here, you will get 4 books that here. Okay, for first book is the concept book, that is a colored book that here, the concept book that. All the concept is there in the first book concept. Let me explain you one by one. Okay, now write it down that here. Okay, now third part, write down here. Third part here is a study material. Study material. Okay, in study material that here, we are going to cover 4 books. I will provide you 4 books. Okay, 4 books that. Okay, here in these 4 books. Okay, okay, now here rapid gist book. Okay, which is a concept book. It's a concept book. Only concept is there. I will explain you about it. Write on the concept book. Okay. Then you have a second book is that here. Question bank. Question bank. Question bank 1. Here you have a question of all the other chapters. Okay. Question bank 1. All other chapter. Other chapters. Okay. Now question bank 2. Question bank 2. Write it down. Question bank 2. Now this is on all accounting standards. Accounting standards. Accounting standards there. Okay. Then the last book we have here on MCQs. Okay. Last book we have on MCQs. Okay. Including case-based MCQs that here. Okay. Now understand this one. So first book that here now is a rapid gist book. It's a colored book. It's a concept book. As you can see that here on screen that here, it's a rapid gist 2.0. Okay. Now what happened that here in this rapid gist book that here is the index, basic index is given that here now. Now here you have here is the revision tracker that here. So which is very important that here now. Suppose today we are going to start with the financial statement of company chapter. Okay, so I will discuss all the concept with you that here. We are going to solve all the questions that here. I will give you daily homework. You will get the homework that here. That is it. But what happened that here, the 4 revision you have to do before the examination that here. 4 revision you have to do before the examination. So when you will do the revision, you can make a proper here, the date on which date you are going to do the revision of it. Okay, first revision. And then here, how is the level that here? Is it easy, moderate, okay, difficult, or you did need more practice? You can give the remarks there. So it will help you when you will do that second revision that here. Okay, now I will tell you later on that how to do the revision as well that here. Like that, for all the chapters, the revision tracker is given here. Okay, for all the chapters here, revision tracker is given. There are 8 chapters here for the other chapters other than accounting, so I mean to say that here now. But if you find anything that here difficult that you take into consideration for the next revision, so you can give the remark there. Mention the area where you face difficulty and need to focus more in the next revision that here. So you can write it down on any topic you're facing on a specific concept, you're facing some problem that here. Just write a remark there. So when you will do the next revision, you know that here where you're facing the problem that here. Okay. Then here, like that for all the accounting standard that here now, this is given. Okay. For all the accounting standard, you can see that here. Okay. The tracker you have here. Okay. Now you are going to do the 4 revision, at least 4 revision before the examination. If your target is 80 plus in advanced accounting, and your target should be 80 plus in advanced accounting that year. And as you can see that when I will teach you that here, I will start with the other chapters. The first chapter that I cover here is the financial statement of company chapter. Okay, financial statement of company chapter, then buyback, investment, cash flow, amalgamation. There are 8 chapters are there. And the 9 is a series of accounting standards, like the 9.1, 9.2, 9.3. These are the series of all the accounting standards are there. Okay. So there's a concept book there. Okay. Concept book there. And first chapter, you can see that on screen, all these are the concepts that in every chapter. The first I have the red. Okay, first you can see that in every chapter that here. Okay, what is going to happen now? As you can see that the first chapter is financial statement of company. So all the concepts are mentioned that you don't have to write anything, just you have to listen. Okay, now when I will discuss with the concept, you can see in every chapter there is a chapter roadmap is there. Okay, chapter roadmap is there. Okay, now when I say the chapter roadmap that here, so in every chapter we know that what we are going to cover in this chapter. Okay. And then one by one, every concept we are going to cover from this concept book that here. Okay. This is like that we have all the chapters here. So 8 chapters, then 9 is a series of accounting standards. So 9.1, 9.2 like that. Okay. Now the second book that we have here, which is the question bank 1, which is on other chapter, means those 8 chapters. Okay. And the question bank on accounting standard. So here, these first question bank is on these 8 chapters. 4 accounting standard, these. and these 3 and this 1 chapter. For 8 chapters you have here total. Okay, so this first book is on these 8 chapters that we are going to cover first in class. Okay, then here the question bank 2 is on all the accounting standard. Now listen carefully that here. So in every book that here, question bank 1 and 2 that here, now remember that here, what is going to happen in question bank 1 and 2 that here? Every chapter has 2 sections. Let me tell you that. So this is a question bank, the 1 that here. Okay, the question bank 1. Okay. So what is going to happen in question bank 1? For example, suppose that here, I'm going to start the first chapter. That is financial statement of the company that here. Okay. So first chapter, you can see that here now. The class question. On these other chapter, the class question is unsolved. Only question is given that here, that I am going to discuss and solve in class, and you are going to solve with me. You are going to solve with me. Point number 1. Okay. Now what happened at the end of, after every class that day, what I will do that here, I will give you the homework that day. You can see the homework question that. But in homework question, I have given you the question along with what the answer is. So you don't have to see the answer first. You have to solve the question. And then you have to check it where you have done some mistake you have done. So you can cross check it there. Okay. And you can write it down the remarks there. Okay. That you have done in this question. Everything was correct, but this point I did some mistake. You can write the remarks there. Okay. So class question and homework question. Class question is unsolved that I'm going to solve in class and you will solve with me. Homework question solution is given there for a cross check when you will do the practice at home. Okay. But here the second question bank. Okay. Question bank. This is on accounting standard. This is part 2. In question bank part 2, obviously we have to solve the question in class that here. But here what happened? Both the question, class question that here now and homework question, for both of them that here, for both of them, solution is given there. Okay. So obviously I will solve this question in class that here, but the solution is given for all the question for accounting standard, class question as well as the homework question solution is there. Okay. Now we discuss about the 2 books that here. I will come to MCQ book there. But what happened that now, which is MCQ book also that here, all the questions cover the case scenario based topic wise is covered there. Okay. These are the 4th book, which is the MCQ book that here. Okay. Now what is important that here now, this is a very common question that, okay, sir, do we need to refer any other book? Let me tell you about this question bank 1, question bank 2, concept book and MCQ book that here. Now, what are the source of question when we talk about the questions that here? Okay, what are the source of questions that here? So when we talk about the question that here now, okay, either on the accounting standard or another chapter or an MCQs that here, it's come. What are the sources that is? So you can see that's a ICI study material, correct? ICI study material. ICI study material that, okay. Or you can say that here a revision test paper, okay, revision test paper. We call them RTP. Okay. Then here is the mock test paper. Mock test paper. We call them MTP. Okay. And then you can see the previous examination. Previous examination questions. Okay. Then we have here other question as well that. So what is going to happen that here now, as you can see that here now, we are going to cover that here now on all the topics, I'm just saying the IC study material question that here, revision test paper, mock test paper, previous examination question and other questions. So you can see that what does it mean? First of all, other question means that here, those questions which are not in IC study material, RTP, MTP, previous examination question, those questions are also covered in my book that here, and that is also important because that might come in the examination that year because they have never asked such type of question. Okay. So all the questions, all 100%, all these questions is covered in question bank 1, question bank here, question bank 1, question bank 2, all these questions are covered there. So no need to refer any other book. Remember that here. No need to refer any other book. No need to refer any other book here. Okay. So for reference, obviously that I'm not saying other book, IC study material is don't look at. No. You can take for a reference, you can see, but you will see that here 100% all illustration, all question already is covering my question bank. Already. If you want to cross check, you can cross check. When the first chapter will happen, financial statement of company, just take the IC study material and my question bank. You will see that 100% all the question already in our study material. In fact, in the class book that here, you will see the references there. Okay. First question they ask, it is in IC study material. They're asking mock test paper May 25 and onwards that year. What happened in May 25 and onwards? They make a one book on that year. The PDF they share that year. In that they say May 25 and onwards that year. And there were 8 papers for each paper. Okay, the 8 basically question paper on each paper. Okay, so what happened that MTP May 25 onwards, they give the title to that PDF and they say mock test paper number 7. So there are 8 papers on example on advanced accounting. This is paper number 7 there. Okay, it is mentioned there this question. Mock test paper 1 September 24 examination, mock test paper 2 January 25 that year. Okay, mock test then like that. This question is on balance sheet. So this is like that. For each and every question, the references is given. So you don't have to worry for that here now. You can blindly trust these book that here. No need to refer any other book. If you want, you can do that. But for me, that I will tell you that no need to refer any other the book that here. Now, what will be your class approach that here? Now understand this here. How I'm to teach you that here now. Okay, how I'm to teach you that here. Class approach. Okay, now understand that here. What is going to happen when we talk about the class approach? First is going to be what you will do that here. You will do the class with me. That obviously you will solve question and all that. Okay, we'll in the class that here. In class, what you will do that here now. The first is that here now. What I will do that here now. I discuss the step number 1. Is detail discussion on concept. This is what I do that here on concept. Like today I will start the first chapter, financial statement of company. In detail, I will do the discussion on concept first that here. Okay. Then here, step number 2 will be, I will solve a class questions and you will solve with me. I will solve a class question. You will solve with me. And step number 3 that will happen in class that here. I will give you daily homework questions. Okay. I will give you the homework questions there. Okay, so these 3 things. First, I will discuss with you concept that here. Then I am to solve the question. You want to solve with me, and then I will give you homework that you will solve with me. Okay. Oh, sorry, that you will solve yourself that here. Okay, and then what happened after this class that here? Okay, what is going to happen that later on when you will do the revision that here. So the question arises, how you do the revision? Revision videos are already uploaded here on YouTube that here. Okay, those are in English that here, so don't worry for that. The revision. Okay, so you can watch the revision lectures on YouTube that here. Okay, now very important thing is that here now when you will do the revision that here, so what should be your strategy? Very important that here. What happens? You have done the class. Suppose you have done the class, you understand each and every concept, you have done a lot of practice and all that, but revision is very important, and that is the key to success that here at C Inter level. Because you have 2 groups, 6 papers, you have that. Now, how you are going to revise entire syllabus that here before the examination? That is the main challenge you are going to face in future that here. How you are going to revise the entire syllabus that here on time that because you have 6 papers, you have to do the revision. Okay, there should be strategy for each and every paper. As I am a teacher of accounting subject, so I will tell you what should be your strategy for advanced accounting that here. What you will do that here now, when you will do the revision that here, you step number 1 is that here on that rapid gist is a concept book. Just go through that. What happened that here now? In this rapid gist, so many times we'll do the revision in class from this. In class only, I will discuss the concept that here, okay? And then we'll do the revision from here in regular class also that here, okay? What happened that here now? So when you will do the revision, you have the option that here, if you want to brush up all the concept quickly that here, then go to the YouTube that here, you will find it on my videos there. Okay, just watch the revision lecture. Each and every topic is there. From the rapid gist book, I only cover the revision lectures that here. So you don't have to buy the same book you have on the concept book. The same book I'm going to use it for the purpose of revision. Okay, you have done the revision. Now what is important that here now? Step number 2 is the practice. Now you will see. Now this is the main challenge you are going to face that here. What happened that here now in regular class or in your batch, any batch that here, I'm going to solve so many questions that here. I will give you so many homeworks also that here. Suppose on any topic, example, you have 50 questions, total 50 questions you have. Is it possible for you to do a revision that here now and to do the practice of that on topics of the 50 question to practice? No, not possible. The reason is that here, because you have to cover 6 papers. You cannot do that here. Always you're studying accounts only. What about the other papers that here? Okay. So you cannot give so much of time on like the taxation that here. So other subject you also have. So you have to know how to balance them here. This is very important that you have to know how to balance them here. So when you will do the revision that here, if you start solving all the question of all these subject, it won't be possible for you that here to do the entire revision. Okay, to do the entire revision of all the subject that here. So there should be strategy should be there for each and every subject there. For advanced accounting, what is strategy that here? You will quickly watch my video that is for 30 minutes, 40 minutes video, and you will cover the concept there. Okay. Then what happened that here? You will come to your these books. Okay, this question bank book. Okay, this you will come to this question bank book. And what happened that in every chapter, after the end of the chapter, that I know that here, there's so many questions that, but I know that here, maximum time certain of the content, the repeat in the next question that, okay, same type of question, homework, same question, class question, similar question I give you, suppose I give you on homework that here. So no need to do it the same type of question. I mean, it's a question number 1 or suppose question number 30 is same because 30 is in a homework that. So no need to do it practice again that day. So what is that here? What I do that after every chapter, I give them LMM. You say, sir, what is this LMM? There is a key to get 80 plus in advanced accounting. LMM basically the last minute mastery question. Only to these questions you have to do the practice. Only to these questions you have to do the practice here. So when I say that to these questions, what is the LMM? So what happened after every chapter that here? I will tell you, for example, the financial statement of company chapter. After the end of the chapter that here, I will tell you that here, which topic basically here in these topic, what are the question that here that you have to do the practice. I call them LMM. So in every chapter that here, on first page of every chapter here in this concept book that here, you will find this table that you'll find this table that here. So last minute mastery revision guide. So for the concept, repeat this book. Quick revision, refer YouTube channel if required. If you want to watch those revision lectures, you can watch it that way. Then the question that way. I know that here in these topic that here, there is a question on balance sheet, question on profit and loss account. There are some question balance sheet and P&L both. There is a concept of divisible profit. So I will tell you that here now. For example, question number 1, 8, 10. So you know that, okay, at the time of revision, you just have to refer these questions only to do the practice here. Not the entire chapter that here, okay? So like that for every topic that I will tell you, for example, this is chapter number 1. In chapter number 2, for example, that here, this is, I will tell you that here, journal entries and balance sheet, buyback test question, the focus, what is focus point, I will tell you, okay? Now here in chapter number 3, for example, here, this is investment chapter. So investment in debenture, investment in shares, the focus point of view. So your focus point, you just have to check on. What is this focus point? Let me tell you that. Focus point basically means that here is the, for example, there are questions, 99% they are same. You solve some question number 1 and question number example 2. 99% they are same. Only 1%, only one adjustment is a very slightly change in that here. So no need to solve both of them. I will give you the question number 1 example here, and I will tell you question number 2. In question number 2, point number A. That's it. So you just have to check it that here. Oh, sir, question number 1, you have done the practice. Now question number 2, I suppose example, I say question number 2, point number A. So you just, when you will do the revision to question number 2, point number A, this point is unique. Oh, okay, this point, okay. Then move on like that. So it will save your time. The strategy is very important at C enter level. So for each and every chapter that here, you will find it out this, okay, like the cash flow statement, okay. Now the classification of activity, that there are direct, indirect, all these are topic in this chapter, okay, got the point? Like that here, we are going to cover that here, your entire syllabus, okay. This should be your approach that here, okay. Then I will give the LMM, this is very important, I'm telling you that here. Whenever I will tell you LMM that here, you have to write it down in here in concept. In concept book, on first page of every chapter, there is a table for LMM. You have to write it down the question number of that chapter that I will tell you, the last minute mastery question that here. Please, why I'm telling you that here, certain time you don't write it down that day and then student send me message after 3 months, 4 months. I don't know that in which batch you're talking for the which batch here. Because what happened, the book keeps on changing every year that year. Okay. I update the book. Every year is going to update the book. Okay. All the 3 attempts question updated. All this is going to happen. So number keeps on changing. I don't know you're from which batch that year. Okay. So remember that in class, after every chapter, I will tell you LMM, you have to write it down with me in LMM table that year, which is given on in concept book on first page of every chapter. You got the point here? Okay. Then here, when you will appear for examination that year, remember that year, before examination, you have to solve RTP, MTP of your attempt, okay, of your attempt that year, okay, which is available on you, which will be available on YouTube that year. I will upload that RTP mock test paper of your attempt that year, okay. Then here, I also take a marathon as well that year now, okay, marathon. And then what is going to happen that year? Marathon, that is also available on YouTube that year. And then you are going to appear for examination that year now. And you are going to score 80 plus in advanced accounting. Honestly, I'm telling you that here. Okay. Because I genuinely believe that here to score 80 plus in account is possible. And it is not a rocket science. What you need that you just have to follow me, okay, whatever I'm saying, you just follow it, okay, maintain a discipline that here, okay, and maintain a consistency. And it's nothing, it's not at all a difficult that here. And don't ever compare yourself. No, I'm average student, sir. No, it's not about average and all that thing. It's about hard work, and I believe that easily you can do that here now. Actually, what happened, your future actually is watching you that year, so don't disappoint it that year. So many people say that, no sir, my situation is that, no. Whatever situation you have, that should be your motivation that here, okay, that yes, I'm to make my life much better than that here. And believe me that here, the over a period of time, confidence will come 100% that day. The day you will become a chartered accountant, society is very dangerous. Society is not going to, I'm going to say that here, appreciate when something is building there. Now you are doing a chartered accountancy, nobody is going to appreciate that here. Maybe very few people in your family, they may appreciate you. But in general, society will not appreciate something which is building that here. The day will you become a chartered accountant that year, then people is going to follow you. So trust me that year. So that those days definitely is going to come that year. But this is time that year. You just have to focus on your study and you have a caliber to do miracle that year. Okay. So be confident that year. Don't be overconfident. And I believe that no need to tell to people that I'm doing CA, I'm doing CA. Don't even tell to people that you're doing CA. Don't tell them here. Keep silent that year. Focus on your studies that year. The day we will get the 80 plus or you will get the rank in an inter level that year, people will come to know that year. Okay, so no need to tell them. Otherwise, they will ask you on every attempt, well, how was your paper that year? What is the result that year? So don't tell them here. The day we will clear inter, the day will you get the rank here. So people is going to that here will know you that. Don't worry for that. Just focus on the study. And let me tell you that here, the focus is very important that especially in your generation that here. I became C in 2011 that year. Okay. At that time, there was no, even the Facebook was I think 2008-9 came that year. We were not addicted to that because at that time there was no smartphones there. Now your generation, the problem is that you have so much of distraction is there. Okay, so don't. I'm just saying it's just a matter of 6 months, 9 months. You have to do the proper study that year. I'm just for group 1, group 2, then self-study, then you will appear for examination that year. Okay, so you just have to focus on your studies that year now, and you are going to become a chartered accountant. Nobody is going to stop you that year. But what is important is discipline, consistency that year. Okay, and always try to be in a group that year. Those who encourage you that year. The two things is very important, and in negativity and positivity that year. I personally believe that year and observe in my life that year. Once you're those people that year, they're positive in nature, that they will give you the appreciate you a small thing that year. Okay, yes, you can do that. So definitely that you can. I personally believe that I became chartered accountant because of my mother that year. I was not a good student at all that year till my 10th standard that year. But my mother always that year, no, Zubair, you can do that here. You can do. She always promoted. Okay, you can do that here. So because of her, I believe that yes, I can do that. That's why I did see that here. So definitely that here, I strongly believe that here, you are going to become a chartered accountant. Nobody is going to stop you that here. The thing is that here, please be positive that here. Okay, be positive and away from these I'm to say these the distraction like the Instagram. Now your generation obviously that you will go to Instagram, the Facebook. It's okay that, but set a limit for that here. The more you avoid these social media, the more chances you have to score 80 plus in advanced accounting, get the rank in advanced accounting. And I'm here with you that here. Always you need any help that here. I will come to doubt section also, that how I'm to solve your doubt that here. But you have potential. Okay, the parents you have outside that here. Okay, and if you're watching the lecture from your home that year or in hostel, I don't know that year, but your parent is looking at you that year. After certain age, their success is your success. Okay, what is going to, I mean to say your success is their success that year. The money is not going to make them happy so much that year. What is going to make them happy? Your success is their success that year. Your failure is their failure that year. So they look at you there. Now in your family that year, believe me that year, maybe that you're in your family that you have a sibling that year. Okay, you have the, I'm just in the family, the siblings, they are looking at you that year as a role model that year. So you are going to become a role model that year for your family. The next generation is going to tell you that, wow, these guys in our family, they change everything. They become a chartered accountant. They have done something awesome in their life, and you are going to one of them here. Trust me that year. Just have to believe in yourself that year. Okay, and be confident that year, be consistent and be regular that year. And I'm here with you that year. Anytime you face any problem, you can drop me a message on Telegram. I will tell you about that year. Any doubt, any discussion you want to do with me, you can drop me a message. I will give you a reply there. Okay, but these 6 months for the classes, group 1 and group 2 that year, and then you have the self-study, the 9 month year total altogether. If I take an average that year, so this very, very, very important positive mindset that year can change everything that year. The positive mindset that year. Be positive that year. Or don't compare your life with others that year. Let me tell you to you that year, especially for your generation that year, as you are living in the era of the social media that year. Okay, people easily start doing compare their life with others that year. Everyone has their own challenges that year. Some might have the financial problem at home, some might have some health issue at home. Any problem it might be happen, and every family there is one issue. Okay, but what you have to do that year, take it as a challenge that year. Okay, don't compare your life with others that year. Everyone has their own challenges there. So life is, but just you have to focus on your study that year. Okay, because you are going to change those situations that year. You are going to do the miracles that year. You have potential that year. Just you have to focus on it that year. Okay, so now the next thing that I want to discuss with you that year about the notebook that if you have not yet purchased that year, I recommend that year point number 5th, which is a notebook that year. So don't take too bulky that year. Okay, when I take a notebook that year, try to take the notebook here for let's say the 300 pages around. Okay, 300 pages. Okay, just one book at a time that year. Okay, and the homework, there is no separate book for homework question that year. Okay, no separate. It is one notebook only that year. Class question I will solve. You will solve with me. I will tell you homework. You are going to solve in the same book. Okay, the homework question. What I do that at the end of the session, I'll tell them question number 4 and 5 suppose homework. So just you have to write it down today's homework question number 4 and 5. You have to solve it below that question number 4 and 5 that year. Okay, now always try to use the same calculator that here. Okay, same the reason is that if you use the same calculator that here, you're used to it that here. Okay, so examination that here you can do the calculation fast. And then here if I talk about the pen here, that is up to you that here. Okay, you take a color pen, you can take a black or blue that here. Okay, it's up to you that here, which is going to be in class also, which is going to, I use this blue color only that here, which is going to be for the normal points that here. But certain time what happened, I use a red color that in class that here. Okay, for any comment that here or new adjustment that here. Okay, new adjustment. Okay, new adjustment or comment that here. Or you can, when you're doing the homework that here, if you have done certain mistakes that in that, no problem, it's very normal that here. So if you have done any mistake that here, now do the circle there, write your comment there. So when you will do the revision that here, it will help you that, oh, I have a mistake here. Okay, this is an area that I need improvement that here. Okay, like that you can use this. Okay, now one more thing is that here, now the 6th point that is related to the doubts that here. Okay, so what we have planned that here, I discussed with the cost sheet. So what we have planned, we are going to make one telegram that here. Okay, so telegram here, which is for exclusively for the accounts, the doubts that you have. Okay, the Telegram channel that here, the paid students, those who subscribe for these course that here, so they can watch it. That I'm going to say they can come and they can drop their any comment, any doubt that they have, and Telegram will find it out me as well. That you can send me your doubts anytime that here. Okay, so don't worry for that. Okay, now this is about this I discussed with you about the syllabus that here, paper pattern that here, now study material, class approach, notebook, doubts and all that I have discussed with you that here now. Now what is going to happen that now I will start with a chapter number 1 that here. What is the name of the chapter number 1? First I'm going to say accounting, so I take it later on that here. Okay, first I will start with the other chapter like the financial statement of company, buyback and all that here. So your first chapter is the financial statement of the companies that here. Okay, so what is going to happen that now before I come to this financial statement of company chapter that here now, I want to discuss with you something else that here. Then I will come to this chapter financial statement of company that here. So I want to discuss with you today, there is a concept called the accounting cycle that here. Now in your notebook, you can give the heading. We are starting the financial statement of company. But before I come to the concept book that here, I want to discuss with you about the one thing, and we call them accounting cycle. First, give the heading in your notebook, financial statement of company. Okay, financial statement of company is your first chapter. Okay, chapter number 1. You can write it down, chapter number 1. Okay, financial statement of company. Okay, done. Now, so here, one thing that I want to discuss with you, that is accounting process, and you have to write it down with me, each and everything that here. Okay, now here what is going to happen now is accounting process that here. Okay, now what do you mean by accounting process? Now through generally this one accounting process at a foundation level, at graduation level, that we learn the definition of what do you mean by accounting that here. So we'll discuss what do you mean by accounting here basically, but that is going to help you to understand the concept of this financial statement of company. Then I will talk about the financial statement of company and all that in detail that here. Okay, now we are starting the concept here. Okay, now just have to listen me and you have to write it down. Whatever I'm writing these here, you just have to write it down with me. Okay, now what is going to happen that now, think from the business point of view that here. Now suppose in Chennai that here, there is the famous company like the Infosys that here now. So first concept is that in entity that here. What do you mean by entity? For whom we are doing accounting that here. So always remember that in your whole syllabus that here, whenever we are doing the question that here, you have to think from entity's point of view. What do you mean by entity? Let me write it down that here now. The first point is entity. What do you mean by entity that here? When I say that an entity means that here, it is an organization, or it might be an individual, but generally we don't do an accounting for individual person. It might be happen that like I don't do the individually, we don't generally do because we want to find the profit of the company. Okay, but individual can also do the accounting. Okay, so what is going to happen that now? Entity means the organization for whom we are doing the accounting. And always remember that whenever you read any question, for suppose they say ABC Limited, now you have to think from ABC Limited point of view, means entities point of view. So whenever we are going to solve the question that here, okay, you are going to think from the entities point of view. Okay, for example, they say you question ABC Limited that here now. So you have to think from ABC's limited point of view. Okay, so here organization, write it down, organization or individual, okay, whose books of accounts are being maintained. That here. Okay, so it is an organization or individual whose books of account are being maintained. So what is the first part that in accounting process is the organization for whom we are doing accounting. And always remember that we have to think from entity, we call them entity, to that organization what we call them entity, and we have to think from entity's point of view. Okay, Okay, so for example, that here, the Infosys company that here. Okay, in your case, if I say that here now, just give me a minute now. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay. Okay, just give me one because I want to insert some image here. Okay. Just 1 minute. Okay, I'm looking for image here because there are so many images on here. Okay, let's take. Okay, let's take Wipro. Okay, so in our example that here, Wipro is the entity that here. So what we'll do that here now, we are going to think from the Wipro company point of view. For the next 1 hour, we all are Wipro that is. So what we'll do that here now, we are going to think from Wipro's point of view that here. Okay. So if I say that here now, Wipro is entity that here now, correct? Now there are so many transactions happen daily in Wipro that here. But in the first of all, transaction that. What do you mean by transaction that? When you talk about a transaction that, because when you talk about accounting, we want to find out the profit or loss of the company because there are now. Before I come to that, we just have to know that what do you mean by transactions there? The transaction basically means a business dealing, which can be measured in terms of what money give and take that here. For example, that here you subscribe for these course, you paid amount to us, and we are providing you the service. It's a transaction that here. So what do you mean by in every entity? Okay, in every entity there is the transactions there. So write it down that here. What do you mean by transaction there? Transaction means a business dealings which can be measured and expresses in terms of money is called transaction. That here. So let me give an example that here. Always remember that first of all, there should be minimum 2 parties. You can write it down that here. Minimum 2 parties. Okay. And it's a give and take. Now listen. What is going to happen that here now? Whenever any transaction that here, how many parties are there? Minimum 2. Let's take an example that here. You purchase this course, you paid the amount, you are one party and we are the second party. Okay, it's a give and take. You gave us the amount, we are providing you the services. You got a point? So this is transaction, something which we can measure in terms of what? Money that here. Now, let me give an example that here we have to decide whether it's a transaction or not that here. Suppose if I say that here, in my office, there is a person, let's say that here, Mr. XYZ. Okay, let's say that here, Mr. A that here. If I say that the nature of Mr. A is so good, he's a very nice person, good in behavior, manners, very good, honest. Can I record in my books of account the honesty of Mr. A? Can I record in my books of account the honesty of Mr. A? The answer is no. Because that honesty we cannot measure in terms of what? Money that here. So can we measure that honesty in terms of money? The answer is no. So can I record in my books of account? No, we cannot record in books of account that here. Okay. So something which we can measure in terms of money, only that we have to record in the books of accounts that here. Okay. How many parties we need? Minimum 2 parties in every transaction, obviously that. And one of them will always be entity that is. Okay. Now, for example, Wipro giving salary. So employee and Wipro. Wipro is purchasing something. The Wipro and that supplier. Wipro selling something to customer. Wipro and customer. So in case, whenever we are doing the accounting, we have to think from the entity's point of view, and there should be one other party will always, whenever there is a transaction, and there will always be give and take. And this give and take, not necessarily it should be immediately. It may be at later date. Let me give an example that here. Suppose we call it credit transaction. We sold something that year, but we are to recover the amount from customer after 3 months that year. It's a give and take. But what is, I am to recover the amount after 3 months. Okay. So that give and take might happen immediately or might be at a later date. This is called transaction that year. Now, this is one problem that year. This is, sir, what's the problem, sir? I say, yes, I understand the entity for whom I am doing the accounting that year. Correct. I understand the concept of what? The transaction that year. But we have to think from the entity's point of view. Is it possible as a human being? Is it possible for us to remember all the transaction in our mind? The answer is no. As a human being, it is not possible for us to remember all the transaction that year. Thousands of lakhs of transaction happens that year. How as a human being we can imagine, not, I'm going to say that, remember, imagine any, the supermarket in a city like in Chennai that year. Imagine any supermarket that year. Daily thousands of transactions happens there. How it can be possible for that shop, that the accountant there or the cashier to remember all the purchase and sales that year, or for each and every item, what is the quantity and all that? It is not possible as a human being for us that year. So what we have to do that here, it is important for us to record all these transactions at one place that year. Okay, all these transactions. So we are going to record those transactions that year. Okay. So what we'll do that here now, we are going to do the recording of those transactions that year. So we call them here recording. So what we'll do that here now, we are going to record all those transactions, and the name of that place, what we call them journal. The journal is the name of the book that here. What we call them in accounting, journal. Journal is the name of book in which I am going to record all the transactions. That how to record, that's a different thing that is, but we'll discuss it later. But we have to record all the transaction in a book, and the name of that book, what we call them journal that here. So what is this journal that here? Write it down that here. This is a first book. Okay, write it down that here now. First book that here. First book in which transactions are recorded. Transactions are recorded. In which, in fact, in which transactions are recorded. Okay. Then what we record, all expenses, income, assets, liabilities, and capital. All the transactions we are to record here in this book, and what we call them journal that here. Okay. So now imagine you have a book, and we are going to record all the transactions in that book, and what we call them the journal to that book here. Now there are two approaches when we do the accounting that here. We have, how many approach we have? We have two approach when we do the accounting that here. Okay, might be you know that here at a foundation or graduation level that here. So when you do the accounting, the one approach is that here now, we call them the traditional approach when we pass the accounting entry that here. Okay. In traditional approach that here, when you form the entry, basically you go to the rule of personal, real, or nominal. So personal, real, or nominal. So first approach that we do that is a traditional approach that, okay. And what we do that in traditional approach that here now, that is a personal, real, and what? The nominal. Okay, we form the entry. This is one of the way to form the entry by going to the rule of the personal, real, and nominal. There's one more approach, and we call the modern approach. And personally, I believe that here, the modern approach is easier, and it is easy to form the advanced chapter entry. Like in amalgamation, consolidation. Here, this modern approach will help you to pass the entry that here. What happened? Let me give an idea about this. Okay, very basic it is that here. Those who have cleared the foundation coming from the commerce route from the graduation, very basic thing what I'm discussing with you here. Okay, when we talk the modern approach that here now, what is going to happen that now? We have asset, we have expenses that here. We have asset and expenses. Always remember that here now. Asset and expenses have which balance? Debit balance that. Which balance they have? They have debit balance that here. So this modern approach says that here, whenever that here now, these asset and expenses increase that here, when we are passing any journal entry that here, whenever these asset or expenses increases that here, what we have to do? We have to debit them. what we have to do them? We have to debit them here. Okay. And whenever they are decreasing, these asset and expenses, whenever they are decreasing, we have to credit them. What we have to do? We have to credit them here. So what is going to happen that here now, when we talk about the asset or expenses that here, whenever they are increasing that here now, we have to debit them, and whenever they are decreasing, we have to credit them. This is a modern approach says that. And to form an advanced level entry, it is going to help you that here. Okay. Now here, when we talk about that here now, liability, okay, or income, or here capital, they have credit balance. What they have? They have credit balance. What they have? Credit balance that here. So whenever this liability, income, or capital that here, whenever they are increased, okay, we have to debit them. What we have to do them? We have to debit them. Okay, don't mix it. Okay, let's just give me a minute that here now. They have a capital balance. These three have a debit balance, a credit balance. Sorry. Whenever they increase, we have to, what we have to do? Okay, what we have to do that here now? We have to, here whenever they increase that here. Okay, wait, there's one correction that here. They have a credit, something who have a debit balance that here. Whenever they increase, we have to debit them. Whenever they decrease, we have to credit them. Something who has a credit balance that here. Whenever they increase, we have to credit them here. So what I will do that here, whenever they increase, I will credit here. Okay. And here, if they decrease that here now, if they decrease that here, I have to debit them. Okay. Simple logic is that. Let me tell you something. Simple maths is there. Okay. When we do the basics of accounting, it's simple maths. Let me tell you what I'm doing that here now. What we do that when we do the accounting that here now. Okay. When we do even in maths there, what happened that plus, what happened? It will be plus. Okay. Minus, plus that, like that. If something who has a debit balance that here, if you're debiting them here, so what is this? Debit. What is going to happen now? You are going to debit them here. Or you can say that here, this plus should be, for example, your debit that here. When we talk about the math that here, what we do in math that here, plus. Okay, then minus, plus, minus, plus. You got the point? This is exactly what I'm doing that here now. Is debit, what is going to happen? It is going to be plus. Okay. Now here, a debit, credit, we have to deduct that. So what I will do that here now, when we do the accounting, debit, we are going to add them. Now debit and credit that here. If there is a debit, credit, then deduct that here. Okay. Now credit. It will be, we will add them. Credit means 2, minus, plus, we'll add them. And their credit, debit, what we'll do that? We'll minus them. So this is what we're doing that here. Okay, you got the point that here now. So debit, we will add them. Debit, credit, we will deduct them here. Okay, decrease. Now what is going to happen? Here they have a credit balance that here. Credit, increase that here. Credit, debit, decrease. Simple math. Let's one more time that here. Debit, increase. So debit, increase. Okay. Debit, credit, decrease. Okay. Credit, increase. Okay. Credit, debit, decrease. Simple maths it is. You got the point that here now. That's why I say that to form the journal entry through this modern approach, if you have done enough practice on it, it will be easy for you to solve the advanced level entry on it. Okay. Now, this is about the recording. So what we do in the recording stage, we are going to record all the journal entry, all the transaction, each and every expense, income, asset, liability, capital at one place. And what we call to that book, we call them the journal that here. But I have one problem here. What's the problem that here? I say, no, I have a problem that here. The problem is that here now, when we do the accounting that here, we have recorded all the transaction. We have recorded what we have done that here now. We have recorded all the transactions that we have recorded at what? The one place that here. So when I say that here, when we record all the transaction at one place, so what is the problem that here? Because I want a specific information. For example, that here now, I want a specific information related to sales now or related to purchase that here. I want specific information at one place. So what we want that here? We want a specific information at one place that here. So what is going to happen that here now, here after the recording, the next stage is that here now, and what we call them? We call them ledger. What we call them? We call them ledger. So let me write it down that here now is ledger here. Okay, let me write it down here, the ledger here. In ledger is the name of another book and in which there are so many accounts. Let me tell you what is this. Now after journal, we have this next book and we call them ledger. And in ledger, I have so many small boxes. What I have here inside this ledger book, I have so many small boxes. I will explain you that here. So what is going to happen now? I have these small boxes example here in a one big box. What is the name of the box? Ledger. And inside the ledger, there are so many what? Here the small boxes that here. So these basically I want to transfer from journal to ledger. What I want to do that here from this journal, I want to transfer it to the ledger that here specific information at one place. What is going to happen now? The same nature of information is recorded at one place. For example, here I have recorded here all the transaction in chronological order whenever transaction happened. So I'm talking to you, just listen carefully. What is going to happen that here now, in case of a journal that here now, we have recorded sales, purchase, income, each and everything we have recorded. But here, if I go to that book and if I want to find it out the figure of sales, it will be difficult for me that here. I just want to know the specific information related to sales. So in a journal, it is not possible for me that here because we have recorded all the transactions there. All the transactions there we have recorded there. So what is going to happen that now, if we have recorded all the transactions there, I want the same nature of information at one place. So what we'll do that, we'll transfer the information from journal to the next book, we call them ledger. The same nature of information, we'll keep it at that particular place. For example, that here, all the transaction related to sales, I will transfer from journal to ledger in these box. These box, let's give the name to these box, sales box, purchase box, like that. So we have a different boxes here, that here. And what we are doing that here, the same nature of information we are transferring from journal to that particular, the box here. For example, that here, suppose sales that here. So what I will do that here, the information of sales, I will transfer to these box here. Information of purchase is transferred to these box that here now. So what we are doing that here now, we are transferring the same nature of information that here at the one place here. Okay. So what we call them, ledger is the name of the book, and inside that book there are so many boxes. In accounting to those boxes, we call them account. What we call them, account. So in a ledger, we have so many accounts. In a ledger, this is a ledger that here, and inside ledger, what we have so many accounts that we have here. And what we do that here in these accounts, we are transferring the information from journal to these particular account, the same nature of information at one place. So write it down that here now. What is this information? Information of same nature. Okay, information of same nature is recorded at one place. Is recorded at one place, is known as accounts. What we call it is known as what? Accounts that here. So like the sales information we transfer from journal to that sales account, like that. Okay. Purchase information transferred from journal to the purchase account, like that. Okay. Now, you know that there is one more thing that here. The process of transferring the information from, we are transferring the information from these book journal to these book ledger that. You know what we call them to these process? We call them posting. Okay. Write it down. Next, we prepare the ledger. In ledger, there are so many accounts. And what we call them, the process of transferring the information from journal to ledger, we call them the posting that here. So this is a process of writing the amount from journal to account is known as posting. Is known as what? The posting that here. So what is this posting that here? The process of transferring the information from one book to another book, that the name of those books, journal to the ledger that here. We call them posting that here. Now you say, wow, suppose that here, when we talk about the Wipro that here, okay, now you say, wow, Wipro, the owner of the Wipro, that Nazim Premji is so happy that wow, you have done the accounting very well that here. The entities Wipro, the transaction, you have recorded all the transaction that here, all the transaction has been recorded in a, then transfer from journal to ledger. Very good, that posting that here. But asking brain. He said, no, I have one problem that here. I ask him, what is the problem you have that here? He said, listen, Zubair, that here now. You have done the posting that here. It's okay. Now, but I don't have enough time. The top management don't have enough time that year. They want to see the final figure. Whether they're going to go to all these bulky big accounts that year and they're going to turn the pages that year and to find it, oh, wow, it's a big account. Thousands of legs of transaction that they have. So are they going to see each and every transaction to turn the pages? No, it is very difficult. They want all this information, the final figure that they want. I said, no problem. You want the final figure? What I will do that here, after posting what I will do that here, I will do, the next thing is that what I will do that here now, I will do that here now is the totaling and the balancing that. I have all these accounts, it's small boxes I have. In accounting, to these boxes, we call them account. But to make it simple, I call it box that here, okay? But in accounting, we call them account. So I have so many small boxes that here. I have sales box, purchase box, okay, rent, expenses, salary boxes, I have that here. Now, the information those are related to, for example, that it's a journal that here. Now understand this one. It's a journal that here. It's a journal that here. Now what's going to happen? All the transition is inside these box that here. Okay, expense, income, asset, all each and everything is that here. But I want specific information. I take the information of here. I take the information of example sales from these box to keep it to another box, and that particular box is related to sales only. And from these box, I take the purchase, transfer to purchase, salary to salary that here, rent to rent that here. Like that, what I'm doing that here now. So I transfer the specific same nature of information at one place and we call them account that here. But I have so many boxes I have so many accounts I have now. It is not possible for me to see the each and every transaction there. I want a final figure that here. So what is going to happen? So my accountant says, Zubair sir, don't worry that here. I will do one thing for you. For all these boxes, there are two sides of each box that here. You know, in accounting, we call them the debit side and the credit side that here. So each box that here has two sides, debit side and credit side. Okay, I say great. So I want a final figure. So that accountant tell me that, Zubair sir, I will do the total for you and I will do the balancing figure for you. So I will do the total of these two sides and I will do the balancing figure. I will find it out and I will tell you the balancing figure for that. So I will tell you the final figure for that. Okay. So what is the next step that here? We are going to call them here. Write it down there. Totaling and balancing. Okay, what I will do that here now, I will do the totaling and what? The balancing that. Now, what is going to happen now? If debit side is more than the credit side is called, just write it down, I will tell you that. Okay, the basic of accounting, okay, is called debit balance. If credit side is more than the debit side is called credit balance. Okay, now understand this point here. What is going to happen that here now? I have these boxes that I have. Okay, in accounting we call them account that here. Now there are two sides of it that here. If the debit side of the account, okay, suppose this is, let me write it down that here. Okay, now this is the box that we have. Okay, and this box has two sides in accounting, debit side and the credit side that here. If my debit side, if I have written that here, let's say the 5,000, here I have written 3,000. Which side is more? Debit side 5. And credit side how much? 3. So what we call them is a debit balance. So they say if debit side is more than the credit side, what we call them here? We call them debit balance that here. Now suppose if I say that here, this is an account that here, this is debit side and this is credit. Here it is written 10, here it is 3. Which side is more? Credit side. So when credit side is more than the debit side, what we call them to that balance here, we call them the credit balance that here. Okay. So my balance will come here, balance will come here. So how much balance will come? 2. Here 10 minus 3, it will come 7. So these are the balances, but we have to, don't say the balance you have written credit side here. It's a credit balance. No. You have to see which side is more. So debit side is 5, credit side is 3. So debit side is more than the credit side, we call them debit balance. And if credit side is more than the debit side, what we call them? We call them the credit balance that here. The basics of accounting that here. So what I have done, the totaling and balancing of all the accounts that here. So what happened that here? Once we have done the totaling and balancing of all the accounts that here, now Now it is easy for the owner of the Wipro company. Okay. Now you have done a great job. He said to accountant that you have done a great job that here. You have the entity Wipro, there are transactions are there, you have recorded all the transaction, then you have transferred the same nature of information at one place in ledger in all the account, then you have done the totaling and the balancing of all the accounts. Very good. But still, Mr. Azim Premji has a problem here. But say, what are the problems? They say, no. I don't have enough time to even to see the balances, to turn the pages that here and to see the balances. So he said to their accountant, do one thing that here, give me the one sheet that here where you will write it down the balances of all the accounts, so it will be easy for me. Okay, they say no problem, sir. In accounting, we call it a trial balance that here. So they tell him that here, okay, what I will do that here, I will record all the transactions. What I will do that he said, he is going to record all the transactions at what? The one place. Is going to record all the transaction at one place, and what we call them? We call them the transaction. Sorry, all the balances. Okay, all the balances. He is going to record. They have prepared the ledger. In ledger there is account. They have done the balancing. All the balances they will record at the one place that here. Okay, at one place, and what we call them? Trial balance. So here, after totaling and balancing. Okay, after this totaling and the balancing that. Okay, after their totaling and the balancing that here. The next step is that here is what? Trial balance that here. So what is this trial balance? Write it down there. What is this trial balance? Write it down. What is this? Writing all the balances of account. All the balances of account at one place is called trial balance. Is called trial balance. So what is this trial balance? The balances of all the account that here. Suppose, let me give a format here. This is my trial balance. This is my, how the trial balance look like that. Okay, this is a trial balance that here now. Okay. Now what happened that here in these trial balance that here, there are two columns that here. First is a debit balance column. Okay, debit balance here. And we have the credit balance here. So always remember that here. Now in a financial statement of company, I will come to that here. But they will give the trial balance. The trial balance is a place where they have written balances of all the accounts that here. Of all the accounts that here. So we have here asset we have those balances maybe of the expenses account that here now. Maybe of the income account that here. Those maybe of the liability account that here. And those maybe of what here? The capital account here. Okay. So it might be any asset that. Today I'm going to also discuss with you all the asset, expense, income, liability, capital. We'll discuss those. But remember that here now. This trial balance basically is a place where they have written the balance of each and every account. That account may be of asset, expense, income, liability, capital. Always remember that here. Asset and expenses will always have which balance that here? They have always have a debit balance that here now. As you know that here now, I told you that here. These asset and expenses, which balance they have? Debit balance. Always they have a debit balance that here now. So here in trial balance, you will always find in a debit balance column, you will always find only asset and expenses that here. So only asset and expenses is going to come in debit balance column. Remember that. And this income, liability and capital, they will always come in a credit balance column that here. And then they do the total of the trial balance, and it should be tally that here because we follow double entry system that here. Okay. So it will always going to tell you that. But here we write it down the balances there. And asset and expense have a debit balance. Income, liability, capital has which balances that they have? They have the credit balance here. Always remember that. Now, again, think from the Azim Premji's point of view that here now. He asked to accountant, now everything is ready. Yes, sir. He said, ready. Listen, this is the trial balance I have. I have write it down here, all the asset, expense, okay, income, liability, capital balance at one place. Okay, say, wow, good. So then he see that those trial balance, wow, great that here. But still he has one problem that here. That accountant asks him, what is the problem? Once again you have. They say, no, my purpose is not yet solved. So accountant say, what is your purpose, sir? Why is not yet solved? I have given you the list that here. and we call them the trial balance. All the balances are at one place, sir, for each and every account that year. Not in how many pages, whatever that year, but in the one place that year. I have written down the balances of all. So your purpose is not yet solved. What is the purpose? So that owner Mr. Azim Premji said that no. I want to see the profit of the company, or I want to see the financial position and performance of the company. How much is the asset liability, that how much is the profit that year. These trial balance does not give me the profit that year. Correct? It does not give me the profit that year. Oh, so there is a problem here. If these trial balance does not give me the here balance if this trial balance here does not give me that here now the profit figure that here, so it does not fulfill the purpose of the owner of the company. That you say, okay. So after trial balance, we have to prepare the thing which is going to help me to find out the profit of the company. They say correct. You know what we call them? We call them financial statement. I will come to financial statement. But before I come to the financial statement, there is one problem here. One more problem. I will come to financial statement that here. What is the problem that we have here? The problem that we have here is the accountant said, listen, I have one problem. So you ask, what is the problem? Okay. He said that yes, sir, there are certain transactions, there are certain transactions which is not yet recorded. You say, why? Why the transaction not yet recorded? Recording stage. You say, sir, sorry. There are certain transactions that we have to do the adjustment at the end of the year, sir. Like the closing stock. So that's why it is not recorded here in recording stage here. So before I prepare my financial statement to find it the profit or loss of the company, I need to record the here certain adjustment that here, and they will give you in the question that here, when you will solve it that here, they will give you that here. So basically they give us the additional information. They will give you what they will give you that here. They will give you additional information. What they will give you additional information that here. Now when I talk about additional information, they will give in every question that here. Okay, we will solve it that when we will solve, we will see that here in financial statement they will give the additional information that here. So what happened that here now? What is the additional information that here now? Write it down here. Transactions that here. Transaction which were which or you can say which have not been recorded in the books of account so far comma has to be recorded now. Okay, has to be recorded now. Now understand this point here. Okay, the transaction which have not been recorded in the books that year of account so far has to be what? Recorded now here. So we have not recorded it earlier. So before we finalize the profit or loss, we have to record each and every transaction that we have not recorded earlier that year. Okay. Now what we will record those transactions that we call them addition, we call them adjustment that year. Okay. Now after this, I will come to financial statement part that I will discuss with you in detail that year. But the interesting part is that here now, after that, we are going to prepare what? We are going to prepare the financial statement that here. So when I am to prepare a financial statement that here now, what is going to happen that here now might be I'm going to say that here, first of all, when I talk about the financial statement that here, the financial statement that is maybe of the proprietorship firm that you have covered at the foundation level that here. Okay. So proprietorship that here. Proprietorship or partnership firm that you have already covered at CA foundation or graduation level. CA foundation or at graduation level that here. Okay, now understand this point here. So this proprietorship firm financial statement of or the partnership, we have already done the foundation of the graduation level that here. But here at your CA inter level that here you have a financial statement of what? Only companies. So what is the name of the chapter here? When I go to the name of the chapter, they say financial statement of companies. So what is going to happen that here now? what they give you in question, that in every question that here, they will give you two things that here. So they will give in every question that here, they will give you a trial balance that here. What is this trial balance that here? It is a place where we write it down, the balances of all the accounts that here. An asset and expenses had debit balance, income, liability and capital is which balances? Credit balances. And they will also give you the additional information. I will discuss with for the additional information detail that here. But time being understand, it is the transaction which have not been recorded so far that here. So it has to be recorded when we prepare the financial statement that here. Now they will ask you that here, prepare the financial statement that here. They will ask you that here to prepare the financial statement, not of proprietorship firm, not of partnership firm. They will ask you to prepare the financial statement of the companies. So let me tell you that here, when we talk about the financial statement of company that here, so whether the basic accounting is going to change? No. Basic accounting is universal. It is same. It is not going to change that here. So basic accounting will be same, asset, expenses, debit balance, income, liability, capital, credit. Basic accounting is not going to change that here. But the way we present the financial statement, that is going to change here. What I'm saying that here, the way we are going to present the financial statement that here now, that is going to change when we talk about here financial statement of companies that here. So how we present the financial statement of companies, that we are going to discuss that here. But before that, we'll take a break for 10 minutes that here now. And after that, I will discuss with you how we prepare the financial statement of company, what is there, I mean to say, their format and all that I will discuss with you. Okay, and we are also going to discuss about the meaning of asset, expense, income, liability and capital. You will say no, sir, we know. No, we will discuss in detail that here. Okay, so what we'll do that here now, we'll take a break for 10 minutes that here. After that, we are going to cover the financial statement of companies, how we prepare that here, because in the Companies Act it is mentioned that how to present the financial statement of company. That I will discuss with you after a break of 10 minutes. Now we have a break for 10 minutes. Hello, all of you. Now we'll continue our discussion that. Okay. So what we discussed before the break that here, we were discussing about the accounting cycle. What happened that here now? First is the entity for whom we are doing accounting. Then we have a transaction. Transaction means which we can measure in terms of money, give and take. Okay. There are minimum two parties. We record all those transactions at one place. We call them journal. Then the process of transferring same nature of information at one place to the next level, that is ledger. In ledger, we have separate accounts that here. The process of transferring from journal to ledger, we call them posting. Then we do the totaling and balancing of all the accounts that here. If debit side is more than the credit side, we call them debit balance. If credit side is more than the debit side, we call them the credit balance that here. What we do that here? We write it down the balance of all the account at one place and we call them the trial balance. What we call them? We call them trial balance. Always remember that asset expense has debit balance. It will always appear in debit balance column in trial balance, and liability, income and capital has a credit balance. It will always appear in capital, this credit balance column of trial balance that is now. Now is something we have not write it down earlier at the recording stage. So we have to write it down before we finalize the financial statement. So they will give you the additional information that. Okay. Now what happened that here now? These two things. Okay, trial balance that here now, they will give you in question trial balance and the additional information give you in question. They will always give you in question this. Okay, they will give you in question that here. And what they will do that here now, they will ask you to solve this. Now this they will ask you to prepare financial statement. So what is going to happen that now? They will give you always this trial balance in question. They will give you this additional information in question and they will ask you to prepare the financial statement. But they are talking about here the financial statement of the companies that. So when it's come to the companies that here, so they are talking, we have to do the presentation that here. When we talk about the here companies, we have to do the presentation. Okay, presentation as per Schedule 3 of Companies Act. So what is going to happen that here now? They are saying we have to do the presentation of here the financial statement that here as per Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. What does it mean that here when we say the Schedule 3? Basically, it's a schedule of the Companies Act which talks about to do the presentation, how to do the presentation of financial statement. So, but you may ask me that, sir, but we used to prepare the financial statement at foundation level, at graduation level in this simple form, trading account, P&L account, balance sheet. No. That is a different form. Here we want to prepare a vertical format. I will tell you how to prepare that. Okay. But this Schedule 3 basically gives us the presentation, the format. Okay. The presentation, how to present the financial statement that here. They talk about the presentation style. Basics of accounting is not going to change ever. The basics of accounting will always be same. Asset, expenses, debit balance, income, liability, capital, it is not going to change ever. It will be same. But the way we are preparing the financial statement that here now, that is going to be changed that here, because here we have to prepare as per Schedule 3 of the Companies Act. So what this Schedule 3 says that here now, write it down there. This tell us that here now, write it down. Format. Okay, format and general instruction for preparation and presentation of balance sheet and to profit and loss account. They call it statement of profit and loss, and statement of profit and loss. Okay, the statement of profit and loss here. Okay, so what this Schedule 3 say, they basically give us the the format and general instruction how to prepare the balance sheet statement of profit and loss account. They're talking about the format that here. Now, I will come to format. Okay, I will come to format which is given in your the rapid gist book, that is, this is the format. I will discuss with you this format in detail with you that here. Okay, but what is important for us that here now, you just have to understand this point that here now. What is important for us that here, what is this schedule 3 that here? So in, just write it down in the next page, write it down that here. Next page you just have to write it down that here now. Schedule 3 that here. Okay, write down there schedule 3. Okay, schedule 3 has total 3 division that here. How many division schedule 3 has? Schedule 3 has the 3 division that they have. Okay, how many division that they have? 3 division that here. Division 1 that here. Okay, division 1, write it down there, division 1. Then here we division 2 and division 3 that here. Okay, division 3. So just write it down, division 1, division 2 and division 3. This division 1 actually is applicable to whom? Okay, write down that division 1 is applicable to companies whose financial statement, write down there, whose financial statement are prepared in accordance with accounting standard. Write down there accounting standards. So there are 3 types of format here. Division 1 is first, which is applicable to those companies who prepare their financial statement on the basis of accounting standard. That is. So you will tell me, sir, so everyone have to prepare on accounting standard? Yes, but what happened that here now? In division 2 is applicable to the company who prepare their financial statement on the basis of Ind AS. Now you will ask me, sir, what is this Ind AS? Ind AS is also accounting standard, but a different series of the accounting standard, which is in CA final level. CA final level. So once you will clear CA intermediate that year, in final level that year, we are going to cover this division, second division that year, okay, which talks about the format of the company which follow the Ind AS. There is a different series of accounting standard which is not at inter level that year, okay. Now you have at inter level that here, this is at the CA inter level that. This is at CA inter level that here, okay, you got the point here. So you will ask me, so what about the division, third division that here? Basically this is applicable to those company which is a non-banking financial company, which is not at inter or at the, even at the final level it is not here, okay. But division 3 is applicable those who, the 3 is applicable to NBFC, non-banking financial companies that here. So what we are out of these 3 format, which is applicable to us, only division 1. Since inter level that here, we are going to cover the division 1 because we have accounting standard in inter and how they prepare their financial statement, which is going to be applicable to us at CA inter level. Okay. Now, what is this here? When we talk about this, what this division 1 says that here. So division 1 tell us that here now, when they talk about that, or any CA inter, CM, okay, any that here is when it is the schedule 3. This is the schedule 3 which is applicable to, not Ind AS that here, okay, which is at the final level, okay. Now here remember that here, when we talk about here, the schedule 3 that division 1 I am talking about, okay, not, okay, division 1 I am talking about here. So what happened that now in division 1 schedule 3 division 1 that here, you have 2 part there. Write down there, you have 2 part 1, not at the inter, okay. Let me write it down that you might get confused that, okay, this is at the inter level. What? Let me write inter level here, and this is at the final level, okay. Okay, now understand this point. So what is going to happen that now is the schedule, the division 1 of the schedule 3 has 2 parts. The part 1 which talks about what? The balance sheet format. So here we'll discuss that here, how to prepare the balance sheet, the format of the balance sheet. Let me write it down in bracket, which talks about the format of what? The balance sheet here. Okay, the part 1. What part 2 talk about? Part 2 talk about that here, the format of profit and loss account. You will ask me, sir, is there no trading account here? No. It might be you have covered in graduation or at foundation level that here. So we don't prepare trading account here. No, we don't prepare trading account here. All the items of trading account is going to come in P&L account only. So there is no trading account here, only P&L account. And to P&L account, we don't call it P&L account, we call it statement of profit and loss. So what we call them here, the statement of profit and loss. So what we call them? We call them a statement of profit and loss. Now please understand this point that here. So here schedule 3 division 1 talks about the format of balance sheet and statement of profit and loss that here. Okay. But what happened that now we'll discuss these part in detail later on. Maybe in the next session it will come the format of the balance sheet. We could discuss tomorrow that here. But remember that here now, when we talk about the format that here, okay, when we talk about the format that here, what is going to happen that here now, this is my suppose bar. We prepare a vertical format that here, okay. So we will write it down that here as equity and liability that here. It is going to come here, okay. Liability will come here, equity and liability, and here the asset side, assets will come that here, okay. When we talk about the profit and loss account that here, generally how we prepare that here now, we write it down that here first income and then expense and then profit. So what we do that here, we write it down here income, we write it down here expenses that here now, and then the income minus expense, the profit will come. You used to prepare these balance sheet and profit and loss account. How you used to prepare this in your graduation or at foundation level? What you do that here? In horizontal, in T form, you prepare that like this, okay. This is balance sheet, this is your profit and loss account that here, okay. So what you used to do that here now, in your here, you write it down here in your balance sheet at graduation and or at the profit and foundation level that here. You write it down here capital in balance sheet left hand side. You write it down here liabilities, you write it down that here now, okay. You write it down their assets. Here you write it down here all the expenses that here now. You write it down all the income here. But we don't prepare like that. We prepare in a vertical format that here. So what we'll do that here now, we'll write it down. Capital means the equity part, okay. All the reserve will also come. I will discuss with you, don't worry. So this is how these three is going to appear. It is not going to appear in the T form that here now, okay. We are going to prepare like this. So the asset will come here, is liability and capital will like that, okay. So what about the expense and income that here? You're going to write it down that here income here and expense will come here like this, okay. This is how we are going to prepare it that here, okay. This is at the inter level is a schedule 3. Obviously, I will discuss with you in detail that here as per the schedule 3 how we prepare the financial statement that here now, okay. But what is more important now, we understand the cycle here, okay. This accounting cycle, at the end the financial statement is going to come and we are going to prepare that, okay. But what is going to happen that now, before I come to the financial statement, I have not yet come to the financial statement. What should be this slide? Again and again, I will come to this slide, okay, to give the reference when here in this chapter, financial statement of company chapter. But what is going to happen that here now is there are certain meanings before we come to the financial statement that here. We have to know that here now these terms that here. What do you mean by equity? What do you mean by liability? What do you mean by asset? What do you mean by income? And what do you mean by expense? I don't want to use a technical definition here. I want to make it a simplify, because in the examination, you're not going to write it down the technical definition there, okay? That also we are going to cover in one of the framework chapters there later on. We'll cover there. But here, in a normal language, I want to explain you that here, what do you mean by asset? What do you mean by liability? And what do you mean by that here? The equity and then income and expenses. Because what is going to happen when we talk about the financial statement that here? So in my financial statement that here now, what is going to happen that now? These all item is going to come that here. So we have to know what do you mean by income, expense, asset, liability and equity that here. Okay. So now write it down with me. Okay. Next page, write it down with me. Okay. Write it down. First is asset. What do you mean by asset? Okay, write it down there. Something we control, something we control, and we will get benefit from it, okay, in the future. Example, land, building, okay, datas. Okay, write it down that. Okay, so what do you mean by asset? Something on which we have a control and we are going to get the benefit from it in the future. Example, in business, we are using land or building that here. Okay, so obviously that is going to help me to get the benefit. I'm using, is it asset? Yes, dispenses help me that I have a control on it. No one can, I mean to say, I'm the owner of it, that I have a control on it, and I'm going to get the benefit in the future. I'm getting it benefit and I will also get it in the future. So this is asset for me. Now data. Now someone asked me, sir, how you have a control on data that here? The data is something, the amount is receivable from you. So because, sorry, in case of a data that here now, because we have data, how we have a control? Because the data cannot change the amount that here, cannot refuse. Okay, rarely it might be bad debt that here, but today if it is a bad debt, we don't call it as an asset. We transfer it to the P&L account as a bad debt then. Okay, but he has no right to change the amount. He has no right to refuse to me that. If we do that, then I don't call it as an asset. That okay. So we are going to get the benefit in the future, and we have a control on him also. Okay, how much amount is recoverable from him that here. Okay, and he cannot change the amount and all that. So this is the asset we have on which something on which we have a control and we are going to get the benefit on that. So there's so many examples. The stock we have that at the end of the year, okay, we have a control on it that year and we are going to get the benefit. We'll sell it in the future. We are going to receive the amount on it. So what we call them? We call them the asset here. Okay. Now the second point is that here now after asset is what? What do you mean by liability? So write it down there. Liability in a simple, okay, liability. Okay, write it down. What happened? Yes, liability. Just give me 1 minute. Liability. Okay, now write down something. Okay, write down something. Okay, something which we are liable to pay in future. Something which you are liable to pay. I'm not saying we have to pay today only. We are liable to pay in future. For example, that is something we are liable to pay. You can say that here. I mean to say that here. For example, the bank loan that here, the credit purchase that we are liable to pay. We call them liability that here. Now understand this point. The third part is that here. If I say that here now, what do you mean by asset here? Okay, what do you mean by asset here? Asset something on which I have a control that is correct, and I'm going to get the benefit. Okay, what do you mean by liability? Something I am liable to pay. Okay, whatever is remaining which belongs to the owner. So whatever is remaining which belongs to owner, and what we call them? We call them equity. What we call them? Equity. So I have some asset. Out of that sum I'm liable to pay, and whatever is remaining that belongs to the owner, and what we call them? We call them equity. So write it down that here now. What do you mean by equity? Okay, third, equity. Equity means what the business is liable to pay to the owner or okay, to the owner. Okay, something with the business we are liable to pay. Basically you can say that here is the owner's share in the business. Okay, so owner's share in the business that here. So what is going to happen that now the business that they are liable to pay to the owner. So in case of a liability, the business liable to pay. In case of equity, the business is liable to pay, but they're liable to pay whom? To the owner, then we call them the equity that here. Okay. So what do you mean by asset? Something which we own, which we control, and we are going to get the benefit from it. What is liability? We are liable to pay to outsider basically. In case of equity, the business is liable to pay to the owner. So we call them the equity. Now two more terms that here. Write down next is expenses that here now. Write down their expenses. Expenses means the cost are incurred to okay, to run the day-to-day business. So we run the business. So for that we incur the expense. For example, purchase of raw material, salary, rent. To run the business, to day-to-day business, we call them the expenses that here. Okay. If we are purchase something and that you're going to get for a longer period of time, that we call them asset, like the furniture. It is an expense, but we call them capital expenditure, and that is an asset. Okay, because we are going to get the benefit for longer period of time. Okay, income. What do you mean by income? Write down there. Income means the amount that we earn from okay, write down from our business, from our core business, okay, core business activities, or other income. I will give an example that here. Okay, the income means the amount that we earn from the core business activity, like the sale of goods. Okay, that is the core bit. I'm dealing, suppose someone is dealing is in the business of, let's say, a grocery shop. So when he sells those items, that is the core income. But he has deposited certain amount in bank, they will give them interest also. That is the other income. You got the point? So just don't try to mug up the thing. Try to normal, basically very simple to understand the meaning here. So what do you mean by asset that here now? Something which we have, on which we have a control, and we are going to get the benefit from it in the future for our business that here. Okay. What do you mean by liability? Something which is liable to pay. Equity also the business is liable to pay, but they are liable to pay to the owner. We call them equity. Expense means the expenses that we incur for our day-to-day business. What do we mean by income? Income means the amount that we have earned from our core business activity or other income. Core business activity, the sale of goods, or other income means, example, interest. We have done certain investment, we receive the dividend. Those are the example of other income. So what happened that here now? This is what we have discussed till now that here. So remember one thing, that is what we are going to cover in chapter number 1, that is financial statement of companies that here. So you can see that the chapter roadmap here. So we are going to discuss that here now. Is the Schedule 3 or to the Companies Act 2013. There are two parts. Part 1 is balance sheet and part 2 is the statement of profit and loss. As I told you that here now, the part 1 is what? Is the balance sheet. Now, a student asked me, sir, how it can be possible that the part 1 is balance sheet that here? The part 1 should not be balance sheet. I asked him why? They say, but because we read in foundation or in graduation that here, first we have to find the profit. That profit we transfer to capital. I agree with you. But even though first, if they ask me to prepare both balance sheet and profit and loss, so first I will close down this profit and loss that, okay, and this profit will transfer to equity that here. But for the purpose of presentation, first we are going to write it down the format of balance sheet, and then we'll write it down the format of what? The profit and the loss account. You got the point here? Okay. Now we are going to discuss in detail what is the format or as per the Schedule 3. I just give you an idea that here is a detailed format of it. Okay. Then we will discuss here in these chapters that here the statement of profit and loss. Now, you know what is the beauty here in the concept book that here now? There are so many things that here. There are so many things that here now. When I will discuss this format with you, so what happened? There are so many details. We have to write it down. We call them notes to account. That is below the balance sheet. So you can see that the note number that here now in these concept book that here, all the notes to account, that is how to present them in the exam with a proper remark and all that, which is already have given there. Okay, so that will discuss the format. Then here you can see that here in a notes to account that we prepare below the balance sheet, that is okay, and the profit and loss account. So some notes to account related to shareholders fund, means the equity part, liability part notes to account, asset notes to account, that here income notes to account, and expenses notes to account. It will be so easy for you to do the revision here. Okay, then we will discuss the notes to account. There are some other concept that we are going to cover in this chapter: contingent liability, commitment, divisible profit. Don't worry, okay, we'll cover each and everything. Dividend declared, that is, these are so many disclosure point of view and all that we are going to discuss in detail, that is okay. As today is our the first session only, so we'll conclude it here. Tomorrow I am to start from the chapter number 1, that is the financial statement of company, and how to prepare the schedule of this. Okay, this the part 1 balance sheet format, part 2 statement of profit and loss I will discuss with you. Okay, but what is important that here now, the few things that I want to discuss with you. Now listen carefully that here. What happened that they will always give you what? They will give you trial balance, and they will give you this additional information. So when I say they will give you this trial balance and what? This additional information that here now, they will ask you to prepare this financial statement. So they may ask you to prepare only balance sheet or only P&L, or both of them, balance sheet and P&L. They may ask you that here. But be smart that here. What is going to happen that here now, where they will give you trial bills. So if they tell you to prepare the balance sheet and profit and loss, both of them, so where you will write it down that here, this asset you always write it down in an asset side, expense in P&L account, income on income side, liability and liability, capital on capital side. But remember that it will always be write it down at one place only in the financial statement. Why it is going to write it down at one place in the financial statement? Because of item of trial balance, because entry is already passed there. We are in trial balance. How we came to trial balance stage that here? We start recording stage. We have already done the accounting that here. Okay, we have debit, credit in the ledger. We have done it that. These are the balances that here. So already the double entry has been done that here. So for these items that of the trial balance that here now, no need to write it down at two places. Those items will be write it down at one place only. You got the point? We're going to write it down at one place only. Okay, now listen carefully that here. So let me write it down that here. Okay, now let me change something else. I want to tell you that here now. Okay, now these items. Okay, understand. Okay. Write it down, write down there, write it down at write it down, or you can say the better to give the arrow this side. No problem if you have given the arrow there, no problem that here. Write it down at once in financial statement. Okay, no two times. Okay, but what happened in case of additional information? There are two types of additional information they give you. Now understand this point. Okay, there are two types of additional information they give you that in question that here. You know that here the two type of information. One is that here is actually the accounting that here. Let me tell you that what is that here. The one is that here now is the adjustment, and one is the disclosure. Let me tell you what is this here. One is what? Adjustment, and one is what? Disclosure that here. Okay, one is what? Adjustment, one is disclosure that here. So they will give you the additional information that here. One is the adjustment form. If it is in the adjustment form that here, it means we have not passed the entry that here. So how many effect that here? Two effect. Okay, two effect. Write it down, two effect, because we follow double entry system. If you have not passed the entry earlier, so don't you think so we have to give the double effect properly? Every transaction has two effect, give and take that here. Okay, so we have to give the two effect. But whatever, there are certain type of information they give in question that is only for the disclosure purpose, no accounting, disclosure. Example that here I will give it tomorrow that here, but the brief idea I'm giving that here. There are certain explanation schedule 3 want us to give when we prepare a financial statement. What I'm saying that here, there are certain type of information schedule 3 want us to give us at the time of what? the preparation of financial statement. For example, that here I'm giving example. Suppose they tell us that here now, if you issue any shares that here free of cost, so we have to disclose them here. So entry I have already passed. In the past, we have already passed the entry. But for the purpose of disclosure, Schedule 3 tells us to disclose something. So I will discuss with you when I will discuss with you the format of the financial statement, notes to account, what we have to disclose. So this is just disclose. Disclosure. Only disclosure in notes to accounts. In notes to accounts. Okay. So here, trial balance item, how many places will write it at once only in financial statement? Two effects in financial, you can write it on properly. FS is financial statement. Two effect we will give in the financial statement. What about this? No effect, not even a single effect, only disclosure in notes to account. I will discuss with you what we have to disclose. That is the requirement of the Schedule 3. Some item we have to disclose here. You got the point that here? So what we'll do that here, we will do the revision what we have covered till now. Today, we discuss about that here now is the syllabus. Your syllabus is divided into two categories. That is what? Accounting standard and other than accounting standard. Accounting standard, there are 4 accounting standards. These I cover as the other main chapter here. Okay. So that is AS 3, 13, 14 and 21. Apart from that, we have a 3 chapter financial statement that we have started today. The buyback, internal reconciliation and one more, that is the branch account. But remember that accounting standard altogether, these 4 separate chapters, these and these accounting standard, they carry 65% of your paper, the weightage in examination, which is very important that here. Okay. Now, then we discuss about the paper pattern that here. The first A section will be on the MCQ, 30 marks MCQ. Generally 3 case study they ask. Any combination, 8 marks, 12, 10 or 10, 10, 10, any combination. Rarely they ask a simple MCQs that here. Okay. Now other than MCQ, that is section B, that is 70 marks paper that here. Okay. What happened? The question number 1 is compulsory. They will generally ask you here the accounting standard questions here. And out of the remaining 5 questions, you have to solve any 4 questions. That is, it can be any combination, 14 marks each, but it can be any combination, 10, 4, 7, 7, 8, 6, 14 marks, any combination it might be. Study material, as I mentioned with you, we have 4 books. First is the concept book. Second is question bank 1, that is on the other chapter. Question bank 2, accounting standard, and the MCQ book. I am telling you that you no need to refer any other book. Just focus on these 4 books, and what I am telling you, just follow me and see the miracle what happened. Okay. Then here the class approach, I already told you that is, as we today started the concept part. Okay, tomorrow might be we are going to solve the question that here. Then I will give the homework. Today homework, just read whatever we have covered today in the class that here. Okay. After the end of the chapter, every chapter I will give the LMM. That is the question number of the same question number I will give you from the chapter that you have to do the practice here and in your revision time. Okay. Okay, notebook, all are simple that is. Doubt, the separate Telegram channel we have to create, and you can ask me doubt anytime there. Okay. Now we discuss about the financial statement of company, but before that we discussed about what is accounting process. We also call them accounting cycle. First, there should be what? Entity. What do you mean by entity? Is the for whom we are doing the accounting. What is transaction that is? Because entity, when we're doing the accounting for them, there are number of hundreds of thousands of transactions that year. So give and take, something which we can measure in terms of money. Then recording, where we do recording in a journal. Journal is a book where we do the recording of all the transaction, income, expense, asset, liability. Okay. 2 ways to do the accounting to form the journal entry that is. I always prefer the modern approach that is. Asset and expense are debit balance, increase debit, decrease credit. Income, liability, capital as credit balance, increase credit, decrease debit that year. And in journal, the transfer of we are transferring the information from journal to ledger. Ledger is the information here. We carry same nature of information at one place. We call them account. The process of transferring from journal to ledger, we call them posting. And then we do the totaling and balancing of all the account. If my debit side is more than the credit side, we call them debit balance. If my credit side is more than the debit side, we call them credit balance. Then what we do that here, then all the balance we write it down at one place. What we call them? We call them it a trial balance that here. In trial balance, always remember asset and expense, they have only debit balance, and income, liability, capital only have the credit balance. Now they will give in the question always trial balance. When you prepare financial statement, the item of trial balance will write it down at one place only in the financial statement, because we have already done the accounting of it. The additional information, 2 types of additional information they will give. First is the adjustment, for which entry not yet passed in the past. So what we'll do that, we'll give the two effect in the financial statement. The second type of additional information they will give you, that is a disclosure. Only disclosure we have to, for the purpose of schedule 3, they give us a certain type of item, we have to disclose them. So only disclosure we have to do in the notes to account that I will discuss with you. Now they will ask you to prepare the financial statement. Now they will ask you to prepare the financial statement of the companies at inter level. So there is a schedule 3 which talks about the format of the financial statement. There are total 3 division of schedule 3, but your inter level, you are division 1 only, because accounting standard, how the company who follow the accounting standard, they have to prepare on the basis of division 1. So there are 2 parts of it. Part 1 talk about the balance sheet format. Part 2 talk about the profit and loss. So tomorrow we are going to start the part 1, the balance sheet format. We'll discuss it tomorrow. But the 5 terms that we discussed with you, what do we mean by asset? Something on which we have a control and we are going to get the benefit in future, like the land and building, plant and machinery, data, stock and all. What is liability? Something which I am liable to pay. Some asset belongs to owner, the liability is liable to pay, the remaining belongs to the owner. That we call them equity. The equity means what the business is liable to pay to the owner. When to the outside they are liable to pay, we call them liability. What are the expenses? Expense incur. The basic expense means the cost that we have incurred to run the day-to-day business. Okay, like the purchase, okay, the rent, the salary. What is income? Income means the amount that we earn from the core nature of business. For example, the sale of goods or other income like the interest, or we have received the dividend, we have purchased the share. This is what we have discussed today. Now, tomorrow, you just have to go through it and you have to read it today. Okay. Now, tomorrow, what we'll do that here now? Tomorrow I will start with the first concept that here of financial statement of companies chapter, that is a format of the balance sheet. So that is for today, but remember that here I'm expecting from you, and not just expecting that, I'm damn sure that you're going to score 80 plus in advanced accounting. But what it needs that here, that your consistency that here. Do you think that whatever I've discussed today is then rocket science here? No, account not at all a difficult subject. It's the easiest subject you have at inter level that here, and it's a very scoring subject. Let me tell you, I'm not saying that you cannot score in taxation and law. You can score that here, but to score 80 plus in accounts, you can do that. It is easy to do that here. Okay, it will help you to clear the group, even for the aggregate for the both the group. It will help you if you're looking for the rank. That is going to help you that here, because it's a scoring subject that here. And you should just what I'm expecting from you, your consistency that here. Daily watch one lecture that here. You have any doubt, you can send me a message on Telegram that here. Maintain a consistency, discipline that here, and see the miracle what you will do that here. Don't underestimate yourself that here. When I was like a student like you that here, I was so afraid that here at that time I didn't speak to people much that here. Now, over a period of time, I'm not saying that here now, but it is going to happen that year when you will become a chartered accountant, confidence will automatically come that year. Today, I'm telling you honestly that year, when I take a class, it's okay that year. But when I meet people that here, we discuss them that I told them the about the international financial reporting standard implementation for these big companies that here when I discuss it. I'm not saying that here because I believe that I have done these chartered accounting because this beautiful course that I have done it, that gives me confidence that here. That gives me confidence, and it is going to happen with you as well that here, beta. Over a period of time, the day you will become a chartered accountant, trust me that here, you will get the confidence, your personality will change drastically, you can easily speak to people that here, the way I'm to say, once you become a CA, everything seems so simple here. Once the approach, the mindset gets changed there, you become a chartered accountant, we think so that now we can do anything that here, because you have cleared that, the difficult examination. Once you clear those difficult examinations, the confidence is automatically is going to boost, and you will do the miracles in life that year. Now, what is here? Your future is basically watching you better today, and they're expecting you. And please don't disappoint it that year. You are going to change the situation that year, but you need a discipline and proper guidance. You need that year. Okay, so I'm here with you always that year to guide you that year, and we both work together to score 80 plus in account that year. Okay, that is for today. Take care, all of you. Bye bye.